meant to be like Krishna and glowing in yellow. And I look like shit. You want me, Krishna? Like you want me, Krishna? I want to be Krishna. You know, can't be a jihad to Krishna. Crow pecks the eyes out of the Christ, of the Krishna, no matter how super Tiferet your king or lord will be. Even Islam are super Tiferet. The crow, sadly, pecks the eyes out as a dominion, as a superior condition, position in the condition of the fall. Anyway, and you need one or two things to replace this. And you actually want me there. You want me, my understanding, my absolute understanding is what I call it, and it's a universal and necessary absolute practice. It fits everything. It fits all world religions into it. Doesn't compete or contend with them. It just contextualizes them all. But yeah, you need that. You need that really, because you've lost lordship really, and you're gonna have to find lordship between each other, and that's how what religion is. Religion, things that bring people together. So religion, really religion. So things you share in common. Music very much brings people together. You see people getting together for music. You see football matches, things get people together. It's the type of, you know, I say football is religion and all this. It kind of is. It is in a way. It's a religion. Holy religion then are things that connect everybody. So like I don't like football maybe, and you don't like Smashing Pumpkins, and we won't go to the same events. But holy religion then is what connects everybody. So, you know, in Thales in ancient Greece they said it was water. It was a very good one, and they all said it was lots of different things. You know, say air and fire and spirit and lots of different ways. These absolute concepts that you see, necessary absolute concepts, and this absolute of absolute concepts is the concept of God, which you can't really imagine yourself, but it is a necessary absolute concept of holy binding, holy union. But I'm getting a bit off track here. What am I saying? Understanding. Yes, it is common understanding. So maths is great. It's transcendentally ideal. It's very good. It's very communicative. You don't dispute much over it. And just teaching African kids maths between them, they have a type of religion between them. They have a spirit between them. They have a necessary formulation of knowledge in their heads, and it actually brings them very close together because they share common beliefs and shared mutual common beliefs, indisputable quantitative facts, but still, you know, mutual religion. So I got off that a bit. Absolute. This woeful predicament of Elijah to do the things that Elijah actually did was to make us realise the apocalyptic situation of the 14 and the fight between, and even the smallest little increment of these peace between these 14 families. The Islam stands as an esoteric thing. You just got to take it very seriously. If they fall apart, then everything starts to fall apart, and they can slowly and surely fall apart and maintain kind of friendship and all. But it is just getting these 14 people particularly together in a room like Jesus did, and have maintaining brotherhood and having a session. There's going to be a lot of sessioning hopefully in the future. But that's one thing, was the different how to stop apocalypse at the very least is to maintain the white between the red. I was thinking the other day that David had to be a thief in the night, and he had to prove he took his scepter. I think it was his scepter originally, because my step scepter was stolen. And he took a water vase just to prove that he was the king, the actual Lord of Israel, Lord King of Israel. And the water must have been some proof that he made a demonstration that while he was suffering or while he was bothered, lakes were disappearing and oceans were violent and water spouts were seen off the coasts of every country, kind of thing, and all the things you're seeing at the moment. But so he proved to him kind of like that it was messing with him. And etc. So yeah, I was thinking how to prove that, and I was like, I know more about the American flag than any fucking American, you know. So I was thinking of waving an American flag like that, like the scepter in front of you, all, to say that your Rothschilds or your Rockefellers aren't lord of the temple that they stole from me. It's my temple, and the hunters will be the hunted. But anyway, it's completely not what I wanted to talk about at all. 14, yeah, Elijah mission, and also he had to stop apocalypse or heal apocalypse, but how to heal actually is how to heal, or how to baptize. So this is, I wouldn't, you know, you can baptize, or they had methods for redeeming through sin. Not everyone to talk about it. You know, they put the sins of things onto a bird and then kill the bird. It doesn't work. It's dirty, crappy magic, and it didn't work then, and it doesn't work now. I'm going to get onto that as well. So Israel, to be raised under El, is a very important thing, and you might have good mothers and well-fed and happy children, but it is an important thing to be raised under the scriptures. And was luckily enough to be raised under Pauline or whatever it is, Christianity. Because Jesus solved and resolved apocalypse a lot. I'm not even sure how much he did this. Even befriending John the Baptist was a big thing. Being baptized by John the Baptist was a big thing. And being the Lamb, it overcame. It definitely went back to the 14. He fixed 14. There could be maybe like these 12 tasks of Heracles kind of thing that I have to figure out and how to do it. I've already kind of done them. I've already taught them already. Just people aren't listening really. But in a way, he was the Lamb, and he was associated then with Jacob as well, who was almost forsaken for the sake of a lamb, and the lamb that was sacrificed by Isaac. So we see this kind of recession pattern happens, where you figure out this kind of history of events. It's weird. They are central events to human nature, more so. It's weird the way they've panned out very necessarily. So this history of events, basically, and their history of mistakes. The Bible is actually like a book of all the mistakes we made, a book of every mistake in the book, as we say, every mistake in the book. But it's there for a reason. So it's very strange and silly that people will go to it and maybe look for guidance a lot of the time, because a lot of the things, very rarely I've found in the Bible that things are going nicely. They're all things that are going well or unwell into situations of apocalypse or revelation, because you see where things are going wrong. When things are going wrong, you see how they ought to be going right. When things are going wrong, you wouldn't notice it when they're going right. So, jumping a bit out of this, I'm sure Islam have done a lot for this, the world, maintaining the 14, and probably have relieved us from some sort of resolve through history of sin, even from Jacob, pre-Jacob, and then from before Abraham or something. I'm not exactly sure. I got it brought it all the way back to Egypt, as far as I'm known. But something that was always just very important in my, or very clear in my mind, and I just take it as an example that it was always very clear in my mind, was Cain and Abel. And just kind of runs off on the traveller video I just made about people that are travellers, are trying to live like Abel, wandering kind of shepherds that don't really settle down. They can't exactly live in a chronologized and Cain-filled world, and they get killed, metaphorically, But they can't really survive. They might in the future, if I get my stuff, if I get my holy fortune, there'll be a lot more space for Abel, people of Abel in the world, and respectful and dignified method of it. People appreciate really who they are, kind of thing. That'll help big time, actually. You see, appreciate who they are and why they live in that way. It's biblical, it's religious. They're not gypsies, and you shouldn't call them gypsies in any sort of way. They're not pertaining to, you could say, they're pertaining to Abel. It was preferred by God, so they're going to win in a fight, and that's what they probably do win in a fight. Don't go out fighting, lads. But Cain and Abel, yeah. So I was going to lay down some quick thoughts about Cain and Abel, I suppose, is what I'm here to help to try and get you out of situation apocalypse. They compared, first of all, they made a mistake in comparing it. This is a really big thing at the moment with Babylon at the moment, and they're comparing everybody, and people are comparing each other, and it's a terrible thing. I studied Immanuel Kant, and it's a much better way to think about judging things in themselves, and you only create differences and indifferentiations by comparing things. So you just don't, like, I'm sure my brother has an amount of love from God. I hope it's more than God has for me, kind of thing. Like if you compare the two, I might be driven insane. It's like, why does he love more than I'm loved? But they compared each other. Now, what they didn't, they actually compared. This is a really important part, and it's got a lot to do with people thinking. So Abel was a wandering shepherd. He didn't harm on the philosophy. He didn't bother his flock too much, and he would have gone to the depths for any one of his flock. Cain put up fences and was kind of doubtful of the world, and was afraid, and shouldn't have been afraid. He should have been fearless, kind of thing, and had things like money and doubt and chronology, kind of things we see in nature and Cain. So we are all living the life of Cain. It's a Cainy kind of world. But I'm going to maybe by realising that brotherhood, that peace between bloods, that if you do realise that travellers are just like people that are trying to live, it'll do a lot of good probably for resolve. But one thing that's important to me is a sacrifice element that's present in the story of Cain and Abel, where Abel is a wandering shepherd, so he brings up one of his calves as an offering, and Cain is a settled farmer, so he brings up corn or wheat as an offering. And they compare before God. They ask which one's preferred, and it says the lamb one is first, the animals. So on the basis of that, I'm fairly sure that there's been a history of people, ablating animals, killing animals, goats, lambs, lots of stuff, or whatever, the fattest cow kind of thing. You would have bought his best cow, best calf kind of thing. If Abel grew crops as a wandering shepherd, marijuana bushes, and Cain was a pig farmer, it would have been the crop preferred to the pig. What I'm saying is, it wasn't the oblation that was important, it was the person who made the oblation. And we see this all the way down to something like Christ just breaking bread. And that's what we do in church, this very tiny little thing, and that's supposed to be saying that it doesn't matter what the oblation is, it doesn't matter. It didn't matter, that's what I'm saying. It was who did it, and it was Abel, the wandering shepherd, who was preferred to God. God's a bit of a hippie wandering shepherd man, he's very naturalistic. He probably likes to see us safe and and comfortable, but he does a compromise. I imagine through life I was settled, I lived in a flat, but I still wandered around, and I still, talked to strangers all the time, and I still, definitely approached or befriended people from the travelling community very honestly and just sincerely. It's called blagging. They can sense if you're just kind of putting it on, but if you don't put it on, and if you just kind of blagging, but yeah, they do a lot of good for you, man. Great freaking people in my life, fiercely freaking. I get a lot of mixed up names and mixed up minds, and Jesus, one of my friends, Willie, is fucking one of the most smartest people I've ever fucking known, man. But yeah, they've got a lot more with them. They do, so even just appreciating that, it's probably good for you if you're in Cain. And try to just live a little bit more like Abel, I suppose, if you are living a Cain life, and not go too much into Cainhood. But try to remember that he wanted to be wandering shepherd. I reckon the Lord's really bored looking down on top of loads of roofs and nobody really doing anything. He used to be homeless, running around the place, and I kind of felt like I had a bit of good mojo with me all the time. Always out and about and busy and active. But yeah, so the lies and mission of trying to make us realise, keep peace between all bloods at this stage. Here's all 14 families of 14 families of 14 of 14 of 14, and went around the world with Elijah. It was a failed apocalyptic temple that burned the entire world through, and then probably got healed through Christ. Yeah, it was a 900-year period. And you can kind of think of some of the Bible stories. Maybe yourself, someone made a mistake at some point in line. Someone did something, some really understandable and kind of excusable mistake that you look about it in retrospect. But they made those mistakes, and studying those mistakes will help you cleanse yourself of all sin. Really, you don't have to do any weird gypsy tricks. You don't have to perform any sacrifices or do anything weird. It's understanding. This will heal it in you. You'll be healed, and you'll progress, and you can progress all the way back to the Garden of Eden, which is to do with knowledge. And now it's a devol is just a spoonful or a device kind of thing, a spoonful of vinegar. It's taste. You're given a sample of knowledge. The serpent said something to you and says, knowledge, 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 knowledge. God's left the garden. You can eat the fruit while he's gone. And it was a taste of knowledge. He didn't have knowledge yet, really, because he didn't eat the fruit. Truth. You might have had understanding. You might have had wisdom. You might have had one, but he didn't have knowledge of things. And so this world is full of knowledge, and people are obsessed about knowledge. Absolutely, as an etymologist, it's not great. You could have vast amounts of knowledge, and it's just absolutely useless. If you know very little and it's very good stuff, it's much more potent than knowing loads and being less or something. Knowledge really isn't the currency that it's made out to be. And it's what you do with it, basically, more so than even this maybe perhaps trespass of giving us knowledge. I'm not sure what story is that, but the fact was that what would you do with the knowledge that you get? So you might find out your neighbour has some dirty gossip, and just what you do with it really that is. This is why I was trusted with the keys and all your sins and stuff and all your confessions, because I would have been good with it. But they stole it from me, and they've stolen the keys that Elijah had because he was trusted with them, and I was trusted with so much, and they've stolen it all from me, just like in Revelation said, they steal it from me and become powerful and use it against me to keep me locked down. But you can save yourself, in a burning bush. History of apocalypse and history of these little mistakes that they made. This knowledge thing is central and key and important, most important. It actually wraps around because exploiting the family, exploiting me particularly, actually, leaves the potential for consuming the fruit of knowledge through my temple, through what's stolen from me. The keys were stolen from me. they have access to kind of the temple of knowledge, and it's supposed to be for me, really, or trusted onto me, even not for my use. And utterly, so they're committed to all sin since Eden. So it doesn't really matter how much they heal themselves if they're exploiting me or my family, harming me, basically, as it says, or not doing as I say. That it's it's rooted back to the Garden of Eden, and it's rooted back to all sin. So you're committed to all sin from Eden if everyone's exploiting or consuming or stuffing your Miley Cyrus face with loads of forbidden fruit. The whole world, the waters would, or if Christianity reached the whole world, that's a good thing, and it did. And then, just like the Scarlet Women, it reaches the entire waters, and they're stuffing their faces with scarlet fruit all day, every day, and they don't stop for Sabbath at all. And that's why your world is falling into absolute crap. And just to let you know, there's 7 years of reaping and 7 years of sowing. I might have said this already, and these are in year 8, and you still haven't got Joseph out of the well. And it's more than Joseph actually in the well, because it's Jacob getting robbed of his children. So it's Jacob getting angry that the world has robbed and taken his children away, kind of thing. So it's really nasty apocalypse. So be Jesus, save John, and read your book. Maybe read Bible stories rather than the Bible itself. I'm not sure if you can actually, safely read the Bible without good lordship in the world. I'm not sure what the story is at the moment. I couldn't tell you. It's all head over heels. But no one's worked with me yet, so I'm just still trying to work with you, world. Don't cry, but you might cry. Okay, aloha. See you then.